Hey everyone out there, Dan here from GeekCast Radio doing another comic book haul video. This is where I go through my recent pickups. I don't do any full reviews or anything of that nature. Most of these books I've not actually read fully yet, but for some of them I will, if I feel like there's enough to talk about, do specific reviews where I dive deeper and give you more full thoughts and opinions. This week is actually quite interesting because it ends up being this random series of serendipitous events that all kind of converged into this one moment. About, way back when, a New Comic Book Day, picked up this Adam West Batmobile bank, and I was there because my son was there, and he was really taken to this car, mostly because it's a car. He cares less about Batman at the time, and my fellow cohort of the Talking in Circles podcast, Greg, was there, and he was nice enough to purchase it for him, so he's been playing with this for some time. Also, it's a bank, so he's put some money in it, and hopefully we'll save enough up so we'll be able to afford to take him to college, because that's going to be really expensive. But as of late, too, on Amazon Prime, the Adam West series of animated series, or the 2 cartoons, came available, and we've been watching those, and he's been loving it because, hey, this car that I play with is now up there, so now he's enjoying and watching Batman. And I think it's kind of cool that his first Batman is the Adam West Batman, which I think might have been mine. It was that or Batman 89. So, and then this week it all came into one because a lot of stuff relating back to this Adam West came out today. Specifically, when I went to I should say came out today, at least I picked up today. When I went to the dollar bin in my local comic book store, I found these, Batman 66. And I've read a little bit of this series, not nearly enough. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Let me pick these up. I'd be interested in checking them out. Love this cover by Mike Allred, and I think this one is by Tyler Jenkins, if I'm not mistaken. No, that's not right. I'm not specifically sure who that's about, but what I love about this cover is that it's got Cesar Romero, and if you look closely enough, you'll see that it even has the fact that you can see his mustache through his painted face, which is great. Kind of really harking back to that series, and then of course the Mr. Freeze in this. And I remember as a kid, I really liked the Adam West Batman. I think there was reruns on FX or something like that. Then you go through that stage where you think, oh, it's campy and stupid and dumb. That's not Batman. And then now that you're older, it's like, oh, you realize the jokes that we're doing and really actually how clever it all was, especially watching those animated series, which I highly recommend. They have a lot of the voice actors or the people that were still alive letting the voices. And it worked really well. And it's like the last time Adam West portrayed Batman. And it was, I think, a great way to kind of go out. But the spirit of Adam West still lives on because this week also came out Archie meets Batman #1, which is a fantastic pairing. Archie's been doing a lot of these different series. They had Archie meets Ramones not too long ago. Way back when we had Archie meets the Punisher, Archie meets the Predator. The Batman seems to fall in line a little bit more sense. They seem to have similar tones, and this is drawn in classic Archie style. So, it's not the more updated version that we see, like the Mark Waid one that was Fiona Staples at some time. It's a little bit more grown up, a little bit more modern. This is more of the kind of the classic style with a little bit more update when it comes to the coloring. So I'm excited to see what this is like and how this works. It could be a fun ride. Don't expect this to be in-depth look at the character of Batman and Archie, but I really love the cover too. There was 18 covers for this, it was crazy. I debated between this one and the Mike Allred one, but I ended up going with this one because it's my favorite of all of them. Just love the look. I love the use of the Batmobile, which I think, might be one of my favorite Batmobiles. I'm curious if you have a favorite Batmobile. It's this one or the 1989 one. Those tend to go back and forth. So I think also came out this week was the Masters of the Universe meets Injustice or something like that. I don't really have much fandom for either of those properties, so I didn't pick it up. I might try to read it, but this seemed fun, seemed right up my alley, and seemed like I've been in very much of an Adam West Batman mood as of late. Also, from Alterna Comics, I picked up the Wicked Righteous #1. I forgot last week to include it, but I also picked up the new series they had with it's about a character who's with Down syndrome and their father's a superhero. And I thought that was a pretty decent start. So I'm like, I need to read more Alterna Comics. This is actually, I think the first 4 issues of this are out in print already. But for those that don't know, Alterna, they print all their stuff on a newsprint I'm assuming, and it's only $1.50 for an issue. So it's kind of nice just to give them a shot because it's only costing you $1.50, which is like, less than a cup of coffee. And if I end up liking it, I'll go back and get more. They had the first 4 issues. This is only a 6-issue series. I also like Trespasser, which was another series by them, so I thought I would give it a shot and see how this works out. But if I don't like it, again, it's only $1.50. So I wish like more comics creators did that, where if they're trying a series that maybe is a little bit more experimental or they're not sure about it, instead of costing like $6, they try like a mini pilot, backdoor pilot, which I guess is kind of what they do with Free Comic Book Day. So, but that's only one time a year. But I don't know. But similar to that, we have Project Superpowers, number 0, which was only 10 cents. This came out, I think, a few weeks ago, but I finally picked it up because there were still copies there. I'm like, it's 10 cents. Why not just pick it up just to see? And I know nothing really about this property whatsoever. I believe these are classic Golden Age heroes that they're trying to bring back and reimagine. And there's been a lot of that done recently, and it's worked effectively. Like, for example, Titan Comics did The Fighting American, which was a Jack Kirby creation. I really like the first volume of that. I don't know who any of these characters are or who created them. I mean, this one looks like Carmen Sandiego. I don't think that's who she is, but who knows. But I thought, again, give it a shot. Dynamite's done some good stuff. What I'm really excited about for Dynamite is showing on the back here, which is their James Bond series. I really love the James Bond The Body series that just recently ended. This is for the James Bond origin, which is kind of telling his youth during World War II, which I think would be really cool. So I actually added my list to pick this up. And then this week they announced a new James Bond series written by Greg Pak. So Dynamite's put a lot of effort in a lot of their properties to try to make them great. I think at one time I used to steer clear if anything was licensed. I'm like, this isn't going to be good. But it does seem like companies are realizing you can't just rely on the name. You need to put talent and quality behind it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But again, it's only 10 cents. So if I end up not liking it, then, I mean, how many dimes do you find on the ground? Picked up a number of Marvel books, starting with the Immortal Hulk number 3. I've been loving the Immortal Hulk a lot. It's probably my favorite Marvel Fresh Start title. And I'm not even a huge Hulk fan, but I love the approach of it. I'm really excited for where this issue goes. And what I love about it so far is the episodic nature of it, where each issue is kind of its own story. The way I kind of describe it, it's like taking that Bill Bixby series back in the 70s, and instead of it being more of a dramatic action sequence series, making it more of a horror-based series. So each issue has a complete story, and they're loosely connected, but mostly their own thing. What little kind of concerns me is just looking at the credits and the fact that it's got 15 different, like 5 or 6 different artists, which sometimes happens with Marvel books or comic books in general nowadays, where you have an artist and then they hit a snag and suddenly that one artist is on 2 pages and then there's like an assortment of different artists. But I haven't looked through it, so I don't know how it differs or if that's just really part of the story. But I'm looking forward to reading it. So far, Al Ewing's, I think, done a fantastic job of making Hulk into something really interesting again. Also from Marvel, the big fresh start title that came out this week was Captain Marvel, number 1. This is a variant cover, which I thought was fantastic. It looks great. It does maybe give you the wrong impression of what the comic's going to be like, a little bit, because this looks like almost anime high action. But looking at the description of the book, doesn't seem like that's what it will be. Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, is one of those characters that Marvel has tried and tried again to get to work quite well. I think they just have lacked commitment for the character, and what happens is you have a series and it doesn't go well, and they try to reimagine it and reimagine her. I thought the last series they had, which was like her in Alpha Flight in space, started off fantastic. It was a lot of fun. You have Sasquatch and a spaceship. Like, what more do you want in the world? But then Civil War 2 happened and completely derailed that and derailed Carol Danvers as a character. And what you're left with is like a character that was acting out of character, kind of being really rather miserable. And it kind of what happened to Iron Man after the first Civil War. So it feels like they've been trying to redeem her, kind of making her that that leader, that hero that she should be. Hopefully that is where this series comes in. Knowing the movie's coming out next year, they really, I think, want to get some series that can establish her and can hopefully get a good foundation of who she is and who her character is. Because I think one thing that's always hurt her as a character is that if you ask me to define what her personality is, like what is she like, who she is, it would really be hard to nail down, because so many writers had a different interpretation of her. There was like, Tony Stark when you read him, Captain America when you read him, Wonder Woman when you read her. Carol Danvers never really had that. And hopefully now, with this relaunch, they've been trying to establish a lot of characters, new status quo. We'll see if that can do that with this first issue. Alrighty, let's look over to Image for the Magic Order number 2. I did a review of the first issue and I liked it. It was good. It was fun. This is notable because it's related to Netflix, and this is Mark Millar and Olivia Coipel's series where potentially this will lead to a Netflix series of some sort. And there's been a lot of announcements this week regarding Millar World and how shows that may be coming out of Netflix. I mean, Netflix has like a trillion shows, so probably will become a show. But I think the best thing so far about this book has been Olivia Coipel's art. It's been beautiful to look at, but hoping this world can kind of expand more. We can get a little bit more about these characters. That was the one thing with the first issue where I felt was lacking, was that there was so much going on bit for bit. It moved around a lot that I didn't really walk away having any affection or any investment into any of the different characters. That could hopefully change with the second issue. And I think this is only 6 issues, so it doesn't seem like Mark Millar is done when he does his books now. Rarely do they go above that. He tends to stick within the 8-issue range. Even for a book like Kick-Ass or Hit Girl, he's now leaving those and letting other people write them, which is something that never happened before. But I guess he's got, interest elsewhere, which you can understand. Alrighty. Also coming from DC, another cheap book, which was only $1, which is Teen Titans Go. This one, I know very little about Teen Titans Go. I know it's a cartoon. I saw the trailer for the movie. It looks like a lot of fun. But I thought I'd give it a shot. Again, it's only $1. And I thought, the trailer looked promising. If that's kind of what it's going for, it can be fantastic. I really want to watch the show, but I think it's on Cartoon Network, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. But as you can see, it's a movie preview. But I don't have that channel or whatever, so I don't get it, so I can't watch it. But I remember when it came out, I heard nothing but hate, and then I heard a lot of people saying, actually, no, it's really good. People just don't like it because it's for kids. Having a 3-year-old who, I don't know if it's appropriate for him, but maybe when he gets older, because, a lot of the cartoons that I grew up with, he cares less about. So, alrighty. Moving over, seeing with Image, we have Gideon Falls, number 4, or 5, actually. I'd say 4 because I have not read 4 yet. I'm actually a little bit behind, but I've been liking the series a lot. This is from Jeff Lemire and Andre Sorrentino, and it's about this. It kind of covers on 2 stories, or unless a change between this person who's schizophrenic living in Toronto, and this preacher in this kind of small town in middle America, and they're kind of experiencing some supernatural events all centered on this black barn. And I love the pairing of Jeff Lemire and Andre Sorrentino. They tend to do some magic things together. This book is a little bit slow moving, and it does take its time. It is very deliberately paced, as you expect with a Jeff Lemire book. But I found its atmosphere really strong, and I just enjoyed just seeing how they intertwine their styles together. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll be able to catch up and give more thoughts on that issue. Also from Marvel, we have Thor number 3. I know one of the things I hear a lot of people talk about with Thor is that they don't like Mike Del Mondo's art. I find it fantastic. I find it a lot of fun. I get that maybe it's not a style people are used to. It's kind of out there. It does a lot of inventive and crazy things. The coloring certainly it can be hard to looking at this page. It could be sometimes hard to follow, per se. It's very the coloring can kind of make it difficult, but when you think you can kind of grasp everything that's happening, ends up being a lot of fun. And ultimately, it's Jason Aaron doing Thor, so that's great. But I know soon, based upon the first issue, they'll be getting back to the future Thor story, which I'm looking forward to as well. But this has been good. It's been enjoyable. It does feel like a lot different compared to what Jason Aaron was doing with Thor, with Mighty Thor. It's a little bit more kind of rock star fun, almost as if it's been slightly altered in tone and style because of Ragnarok. I don't expect that to be the case, but certainly it's not as, I think, thematically as devastating as something that Mighty Thor ended up being, which you can kind of understand because that left on such an emotional ending that maybe you just want to build things up a little bit before you let the gauntlet down once again. Alrighty, we're almost done, I promise. Also from Marvel is Avengers #4. I should say I did end up dropping Justice League. It just wasn't working for me, and I'm also debating about dropping Avengers. Again, I love Jason Aaron as a writer. I've been liking Avengers, but it just hasn't kind of gotten to that next level for me quite as of yet. Especially with issue 4, it felt like a little bit like just didn't have that extra piece I would want for Jason Aaron. I know Jason Aaron likes to build his stories and take his time, but I don't know if just because of the assortment of characters, it just didn't have the engagement that I expect for a Jason Aaron book. It didn't have the depth I would expect. Now that may change with this issue. I do like the use of the Celestials, and I've enjoyed the art by Ed McGuinness, but considering I'm collecting a lot of books, I have to pick and choose, and this might be something that I stick with this arc, and then depending on how it goes, I might drop it or wait for trade or what have you. But it's not been bad. It's just not been something where I'm nearly as excited to read it as I am for his Thor run, or I am for Immortal Hulk. Going into this, I would think Avengers was going to be my favorite book out of all the Fresh Start book titles, but it's more in the middle ground right now. Last but not least, I have By Night #2. This comes from Boombox, part of Boom Studios. This is written by the same writer of Giant Days. I liked the first issue. It was good. It was a good setup issue. It's about these two former high school friends who kind of come together in this small town, and they're investigating kind of who was like this old CEO of the town, who was kind of a pseudo mayor in a way, and they go to his house to try to investigate what happened to him because he disappeared. And the last issue leaves off with them kind of entering into this possible other dimension. So it's fun. It's from Boombox, tends to be a little more kid friendly than some of the other Boom titles. It's not, I think, as strong as Giant Days was, but Giant Days again is a very character humor story that I think took some time for me to really like. So it's also only 12 issues, but I think it's a good series if you want something a little bit more lighter or something a little bit more fun. We'll see where it goes with the first issue didn't give me really enough to have a full opinion on where I think the series is going to go, but I wanted to give it a shot because I've enjoyed Giant Days so much. But that's it for me for this week. No more comics to talk about, but you want to catch up more of my stuff, check out my Comic Concierge podcast, check out GeekCast Radio. What have you picked up this week? Let me know in the comments below. Who's your favorite Batman or Batmobile? I talked a lot about Adam West. Are there other Adam West fans out there? But all right. Well, thanks for listening. Remember that comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.